Welcome everybody. Good to see you. What a great turnout. Thanks for everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. This is an important meeting. We're glad to have you here. It's been a long time. It's been a pandemic. We haven't seen each other enough. It's so good to be at a real resident meeting again. So we thought this was so important that we ought to bring everyone together somehow. And that's why we went and got these big tents and tried to get everyone together at one time. We have some stations up here. We've got plenty of water. We'll be glad to bring you water or Gatorade if you need it. We've got a station for personal protective equipment if anyone should want hand sanitizer or masks. And we've got an info booth up here too for you. So feel free to get up and get any of those if you want to. Tonight, we're going to embark on a journey to plan the future of the Hoboken Housing Authority. The renovation, the rehab, and redevelopment of all of our housing stock. We're going to renovate our housing. It's time. It's time we move forward. And it's time we took this housing stock and make a difference with it. We've got some tools that Heather's given us. It's going to be a long journey with us. And tonight we're going to ask you for your input, for your comments. We're going to be together as a group. And then we're going to get together in 4 breakout groups, and we're going to get your comments and your input into what you want to see as the Hoboken Housing Authority's new community. What elements do you want to see? What do you want to see us transform into? We want to get your input right from the start, because we are right at the beginning. And you're going to meet the people involved tonight. But this is a resident meeting. This is a meeting for the residents. This is a meeting for the residents to meet our planning team that's involved with our staff, that's just starting the planning process. This is not a meeting where we're going to have a lot of other people talking except the planners. They're going to lead the meeting with you. But we need to know that we're not alone here. We're not alone in this effort. We've got the mayor here tonight, going to say a few words for us. We've got some council members here tonight. If the council members will stand up and say hello, our great council members. Thank you all for being here. None of us can do this alone, so it's great that you're here. Did we get a county commissioner here? No, okay. I don't see. Anyone from the state? I haven't seen that here, and that's a great partner of ours. And if she's not here, she just couldn't make it and gives her regard. I would like to give a special shout out to our Housing Authority commissioners. And if you would, to make yourself known. Jump up and down, raise your hand, say hello, and everyone. The commissioners, thank you for being here. They make this place run day to day. They're the ones that are there to a person, protecting your rights and making sure this is going to go well. Tonight is a meeting for you. The commissioners aren't going to speak. You can talk to them one-on-one, but it's not their will tonight to speak. They are going to listen. They're going to engage with you one-on-one, but tonight's your night. And most of tonight is going to be you giving your input. We've got a presentation for you to show you where we are so far, but most of this is your night. Having said that, I would like to ask the mayor if he would make a few introductory comments for us. Then I'll be back with you. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Director Recco. I appreciate it. I want to acknowledge you and all the hard work you've done over the years of service. Also want to give a special thank you and shout out to the Board of Commissioners. As the Director said, they're going to be driving this process. I see Chairman Mello over there. I see Commissioner Lewitt. I think I saw Commissioner Seitzman, Commissioner Sanford, and there might have been other commissioners, but definitely engage them. They represent you. They're out to represent your best interests. Make sure you hold them accountable in this whole process. And this really is, as Director Recco said, a resident-driven process. This is not for the politicians to say what's going to happen. This is for the residents to tell the officials what you want to see happen in the Hoboken Housing Authority. Not only what you want to see happen, but what the problems are both short-term and long-term. Because after all, we have short-term problems, but we're also looking towards the future, towards a vision where we can have a community, an ecosystem that's a substantial improvement in terms of quality of life. Commercial, retails, places to shop, places to dine, all that's on the table. But that's not for me to decide, that's for all of you to decide, and that's for the commissioners and the director really to listen to you and to take your direction as to what you want, what you want to see from this process. So it all begins with the residents. We represent the residents, the commissioners represent the residents, and I really hope that that's the way the process will be driven. But the crowd, the amount of people here is very refreshing because it all shows that you care about the community, care about the future of the community, and I'm here for the same reason because I want to make sure that this process is as successful as possible. So you have the city's support, the director and the board of commissioners have the city's support. We're at your service to help you along the process, to be of any benefit and service we can be. And we obviously wish you all the success in the future. We are one community, we're together, and we're going to move forward together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate your support all the time. As the mayor was saying, tonight is about HHA families. We're going to ask you for your input tonight. You should.
Hello, good night. Tonight is about the residents to tell the commissioners what they would like to see moving forward.
Thank you. And if we're forgetting, if we're forgetting to translate, just highlight us. I think somebody wants your name.
Hey, I'm Daniel. I'll be translating for you tonight.
All right. This is a resident meeting. As the mayor said, it's not for the politicians, it's not for the staff, it's not for the commissioners, it's not for other groups in Hoboken. It's the first for the residents. It's about you, and there will be many more. This is the beginning of the process. We won't have answers to all of your questions tonight. We just won't, because it's too early in the process. But it's a night that we want to know where the starting gate is. We want to know what you want to see in a revision Hoboken Housing Authority. We want to know what elements that you have in a revision Hoboken Housing Authority.
Como dijo el alcalde anteriormente, esta noche es para que los residentes comuniquen sus requerimientos de la visión a Hoboken a futuro. Este es solo el primero de muchos y el objetivo es llegar a la meta de lo que todos quieren para su futuro.
We'll have room for a lot of questions in the very near future.
In a little bit.
Yeah, in a little while, we'll have room for questions. This is going to be a multi-step process, right? The group that we have are planners with us tonight. They're going to start the plan and be sharing the plan with you as we go over the next few months.
Este es un proceso con muchos pasos, va a tomar meses, pero este es el inicio de todo este proceso.
Our goal, clearly, our Board of Commissioners has instructed that we be as transparent as possible, that we go down this planning process and action process with no surprises to the Hoboken Housing Authority residents.
El objetivo primordial es transparencia absoluta, no hay sorpresas, todo se va a comunicar, se va a preguntar cualquier duda a partir de este proceso.
Tonight we want to capture your knowledge, your ideas, right? We want your comments as we start this planning process. We have been too long dealing with these 70-year-old buildings, with the buildings that have constant maintenance problems that are getting out of date. We need to renovate them. We need to make them alive again. We need to rehabilitate them, and at times we need to redevelop them. But we're at the beginning of that planning process, and that's what tonight is all about. Again, we're not going to have all the answers yet. What we're here to do is to hear from you. Now, we'll hear this a number of times. We will be meeting tonight. We will have, in about a month, a citywide charrette process, a citywide meeting process that you will be the main player of that. A lot of the questions that you may bring up tonight will be able to be answered at that meeting in September. Then we'll have a meeting in October to come back again with where we are and what we're doing. And we will continue to do that as long as this process goes on, because we want you to be driving the process and know how we're looking to make the Hoboken Housing Authority move forward. Having said all of that, I would like to introduce our planning group to you, because they're going to run the rest of this meeting. We have put together a nationally recognized planning group. This group has extensive experience, and I mean extensive experience, in ethically, honestly, and successfully redeveloping public and assisted housing. They are known throughout the country. Their commitment to tenant protection is unequaled. They're a great group, and they bring an incredible amount of knowledge. And I hope by the end of this, you all get to know them very well, and I think will be impressed as I am with them. So I'd like to introduce from Troy Gallus and Partners, Mr. Troy McGee, who's going to in turn introduce the planners and go take you through a short presentation. Troy?
Thank you, Mr. Recko. And good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Okay, great. Thank you once again for coming out this evening. I'm sorry, my name is Troy McGee. Okay, so just thank you once again for coming out, and again, I'll just quickly walk through our team. We have a presentation that we're going to walk through. If you can go to the first slide. Before I cover the first slide, what I like to do is introduce my team. So the firm that I work with is called Troy Gallus and Partners. We are a planning and architecture firm that has worked with communities for over 65 years. And then we also have Higher Brulin Associates, who is also located in New Jersey, who is also a great planning firm. So between the two firms, and then we have another firm that's involved. They're not here today. The Communities Group have, like Mr. Recko was saying, extensive experience in helping to transform communities. But like you said, it's working with residents, ensuring that residents have a voice in this process.
El caballero es parte de un grupo de planeadores y arquitectos que trabajan con comunidades y es un equipo que va a estar aquí presente. Se están introduciendo y van a ver una presentación.
And so with this team, I'd just like to introduce, this is David Stimble. Just raise your hand. Brian Tomato, Daniela Tony, and Michaela Mann. So that's from the Troy Gallus Group. For Higher Greer, we have Susan Brewer, who'll be presenting in a few minutes, John Barry, and Mackenzie Marks. So we're going to be the ones working with you tonight. Again, this is really getting information from you. Because I know a lot has been said, but this is going to be our first step to getting information from you.
Como vieron, las personas que levantaron la mano son parte del equipo y van a dar la presentación a lo largo de la noche.
Okay, so the other big part too that I just want to emphasize is that, again, this is just the start of it. It's coming up with a planning concept, working together. Okay, so we're going to take your ideas, get your input, be back in September and October and continue to work together to create a plan. From there, with the plan, we still are going to have a process that we go through, the steps that we're going to have to go through to actually get this built. So each step of the way, you are involved.
Este proceso es el primero, va a haber otro en septiembre, otro en octubre, y es para recibir ideas de todos ustedes, y el plan se va a armar con las ideas de todos, no es algo que pasa sin su conocimiento.
Okay, I'm hearing that people cannot hear me in the back. How about now?
Hello, sorry, I'm behind you right there. Anybody who's on the microphone? My name is Sasha. You can see my voice is projecting. If you're on the microphone and you think that you're too loud, don't be. Everybody wants to hear, so like, hello?
Okay, all right, because I can be pretty loud. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't too loud, so, okay, I got you, thank you. Okay, so with this quick presentation that we're going to go through, you're going to see, again, just a quick planning team introduction, because you'll see some other folks that are going to be involved in this process. And then also, of course, you're all familiar with your communities. You're going to see a few slides to just quickly talk about that. Then we're going to talk about the engagement process. Let's stop right there so you can translate.
Bien, este es el primer slide de la presentación. Ya vieron la introducción de las... ¿Me oyen mejor ahí? ¿Mejor? ¿No? ¿Mejor? ¿Sí? El primer slide de la presentación con las personas que son parte del equipo, y vamos a empezar con esto.
And then we are also going to talk about, just briefly, just some of the city planning efforts that have been going on and how it ties in with this, because we're all working together. Okay, so we'll just see how, and this is what we're going to continue to do with this process of how other city efforts, you know, if it's like working with the streets, addressing issues with flooding, all of those type of things and more, how that can support this community and tie in with that.
Es básicamente todos los aspectos que les preocupan a ustedes del estado de las calles, de las veredas, de inundaciones, todo se va a considerar acá.
Okay, and then from there, we're going to break out in groups. And this is where we're going to want to hear your questions, get your feedback, and take all of that in. One of the things that we're going to ask with that breakout session, when we break out to these groups, is we're going to get back together, right? We're going to get back together and share what we've discussed in each group. We're going to ask one resident from each group to report back to this group, you know, what has been discussed, okay?
Después de la presentación se van a separar en 4 grupos, todo el mundo va en esos grupos a dar sus ideas, sus comentarios, después regresamos acá y un representante de cada grupo expone sus ideas a todos.
Okay. And then from there, we will take that information and just go ahead and process what you've given us. Come back in September, present that information to you to just make sure, did we hear you correctly? Are we on the same page? And then we're going with the next step. Okay?
Una vez recibidas esas ideas, la siguiente reunión es en septiembre, vamos a presentar lo que salió con resultado de acá para ver si todo está con las ideas que querían todos, se incluye todo.
Okay, and with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague Susan Greer, and she's going to cover the next series of slides.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out on a interesting evening. We were worried about rain. Actually, we hadn't thought about heat. But can you hear me back there? Am I loud enough? Yes? Thank you. No. Okay, I'll try to be louder. I am with the planning firm of Greer and Associates, and 2 of our other planners are here. We are a community planning firm in New Jersey that does work around the state. Yeah, okay. Do you want to?
¿Qué tal? Susan es de la firma de los planeadores y arquitectos y va a dar la siguiente parte de la presentación.
And we are part of the planning team with Troy Dallas and the other consultants who are looking at and coming up with a plan for the Housing Authority properties. And we all agree, and I just want to reinforce it, is that this is an inclusive process where we need to hear from you. It's your community. You are the ones that live here. You're the ones that have to give us the insight that we need in order to transform the development and your housing. So we also have TCG Development, Jaime, who is the finance guy as such. He'll make sure that the numbers work and the development actually can happen. And then we also have a consultant that has done or is doing a market analysis and also cost estimating, because we have to make sure that whatever the vision is, it can actually be implemented. And so, if we can go to the next slide. Okay, I just want to note that the Housing Authority, the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority, adopted in June guiding principles, and I think a lot of you have picked up copies of that, guiding principles that will assist us in this process. And I think one of the key considerations and aspects of the principles is there will be a one-to-one replacement of units. There's 1354 units right now, and when this is completed, there will be 1354 at a minimum of units. So that is a key principle that is part of what the Housing Authority adopted. There are other principles in there, but I just wanted to highlight that. And for a full list, you can go on the Housing Authority website, which is identified there. And as well as, I just want to note that anyone that has questions or comments and you would like to identify those that aren't necessarily in our groups, there's a questionnaire box back there somewhere on one of the tables. Aha! There we go. Where you can write your questions or comments down and place them in there. Within the next day or two, there will be an opportunity to do the same thing on the Housing Authority's website. Is that correct? Thank you. Okay. Next slide, please. And thank you.
Eso fue largo, voy a resumirlo. El slide anterior es los principios clave de todo este proyecto. Ustedes recibieron copias, ahí está la lista, pero el principio principal y primordial es que va a haber un reemplazo de unidades uno por uno. Es decir, que las 13, me parece que es 1354 unidades, en el nuevo proyecto van a ser exactamente 1354 como mínimo. No va a haber reducción de unidades de ninguna forma. Había un sitio web ahí donde pueden ver el resto de los principios y ahí hay una caja de sugerencias, ideas, que va a estar ahí por los siguientes 2 días para las personas que quieran poner sugestiones ahí.
Okay. This map, I'm not going to go through this. You know where the Housing Authority properties are. We've just identified them on this area map of a good portion of Hoboken. So that's all this does.
Es un mapa de los puntos principales en Hoboken de las propiedades de la autoridad de Housing.
And we have...
Sure.
Okay. What we have here is just some information regarding each of the properties, the total number of units, the density of housing, the number of acres, When it was constructed, we see the oldest Andrew Jackson Gardens, 1953, and 61, 52, Columbus. Just in case you didn't know that, when Mr. Recco said these are old projects, these are old buildings, he really meant it. And then type, family, and seniors. And so we have that. We have the main campus, 807 units, 450 seniors. So that's just some basic information about each of the projects.
En este slide son informaciones básicas de cada una de las propiedades, número de unidades, hectáreas, año de construcción. Hay varios que pueden ver, las fechas son bastante antiguos, tipo de familia y en resumen.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. All right, great. My name is Brian Tomeno. I work for Torty Gallison Partners. And I'm the planner and architect here to listen to you guys today. So I just want to talk more about the actual process. We're getting started tonight with this kind of stakeholder meeting, hearing your first initial comments. But I want you guys to listen, ask some questions tonight, and then also think about better questions to ask us in the next couple months, right? We're going to be hearing from you. We want to hear from you a lot.
Esto es sobre el proceso y cómo se va a desarrollar el proceso, el tipo de preguntas y cómo mejorarlas al futuro.
We've learned in order to make successful transformation and uplift the community, we need to gain momentum from the residents and all of the stakeholders.
Para un proceso efectivo necesitamos un impulso de los residentes para que el proyecto avance bien.
We want to analyze and understand the place that you live and know more than us.
Queremos analizar del lugar donde viven y que ustedes conocen mejor que cualquier otro.
Including the challenges, but also the good parts about your community, the things that you love and you want to preserve and save.
Incluyendo los retos, pero también qué es lo que ustedes aprecian más de su comunidad.
Along with this meeting, we're going to have a larger workshop in September that will focus in on a lot of the issues. We'll have a meeting about parks and open space and playgrounds for kids of all ages, right? We'll have meetings about safety. We'll have meetings about building types and along the lines of this. So we'll get into that in about a month, but this meeting was just the initial feedback.
Esta reunión es el punto inicial, pero a septiembre será un taller más grande donde se cubrirán parques, temas de seguridad, otros asuntos.
And then after the big workshop in September, we'll be coming back to fill you in on additional meetings and just let you know how the process is going.
Después del taller en septiembre habrán subsecuentes reuniones con más pasos del proceso.
Like it's been said a lot tonight already, we're here to listen. We put it 3 times on the slide just to emphasize that. And then ultimately to form consensus with the residents first, but also with other stakeholders, the neighboring residents, the local public officials to gain momentum again and make this a real transformation.
Como se dijo anteriormente, el punto principal de acá es escuchar, está repetido 3 veces.
A part of what you do are actual designing and building of these buildings and the open spaces in your neighborhood is to go through and understand 3 major approaches.
Hay 3 puntos claves de cómo se llega a este proceso.
The first one we want to understand about the people, and probably it is the most important part, right? You guys. That includes what are your local traditions and customs? Again, what do you want out of your neighborhood just to be saved? What does health and happiness mean to you? There's a lot of different ways we can talk about that. And also about education and jobs, right? The important stuff that you guys, that comes along with an uplifted community.
El pilar número 1 es la gente, cuáles son sus tradiciones, sus costumbres, su salud, qué los hace feliz, educación, economía.
The next approach is natural systems. So we want to learn about, not only from you guys, but do our own research and educate you as well on what the important parts of the natural system are here. One big one we know already is flooding. Superstorm Sandy caused lots of devastation in Hoboken, and we want to make sure your community in particular is resilient from that and can bounce back strong.
El siguiente es sistemas naturales y digamos para el caso de acá inundaciones es un sistema un punto muy importante, por ejemplo después del huracán Sandy, que se tomará en cuenta.
And then the final subject is the built environment, the actual buildings. We want to understand how this new community might work together with the larger Hoboken. Maybe bringing some of the streets back in to the grid so it's not so hard to turn around in your neighborhood and get stuck. It's also improving the mobility of all forms.
Y el tercero es el sistema construido de carreteras, de cómo se llega acá, que sea fácil acceso de ir y salir de acá.
And what I mean by mobility, my final point, is understanding where you guys need to get to, if it is the local doctor's office that's too far, if it's your kids' schools, or beyond to have more fun in the city of Hoboken. How do you get there safely in multiple ways? Through bikes, through walking, through wheelchairs, through mass transportation as well.
Movilidad de cómo la persona va a un hospital, van a la escuela y diferentes sistemas de transportación, bicicletas, carros, buses.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Don, for walking through those slides, as well as Susan. There's still another presenter. I just wanted to jump in for a second because there have been a few questions about this particular presentation. Just want to let you know that it will be posted at the City of Hoboken Housing Authority website, as well as hard copies will be printed at the central office. They will be available on Friday. So you have two options to get this presentation. Be able to go online or get a printed copy.
Para responder un par de preguntas que hubieron, esta presentación va a estar disponible en el sitio web del Housing Authority y también se van a dar copias físicas que se pueden retirar de la oficina central el viernes.
Okay, we're going to get close to getting through this presentation, but next we're going to have John Berry from the Higher Greer in the social.
Thank you, George. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, good. I'll keep it brief because we really want to hear from you, and we've been talking for long enough at this point, but an important part of any planning and development in the city in New Jersey is considering the broader context. So we have to look at what's going on around us in the city. We looked at the master plan for the city and some different documents that the city's prepared. That's not so that the city can tell you or the housing authority or us what to do, but so that we can understand everything that's going on around us.
El objetivo acá es no que la ciudad imponga un plan maestro a ustedes, sino que ustedes informen cuál va a ser el plan.
So Brian touched on some of the key points in talking about the spectrum process, but some of the things that we want to talk with you about and understand what you think about are things like the idea of having a park that extends all the way around the city. That's something that's come up in the city's plan, where the opportunity to connect along the train tracks perhaps so that you could walk literally in open space around the city. That's something that the city may be working toward, and we want to know how you feel about that as part of the Housing Authority's future. Some of the
Por ejemplo, hay el plan de la ciudad de construir un parque alrededor de todo Hoboken, que la gente pueda caminar a través de las vías del tren. Es algo que también se va a informar acá.
Some of the other concepts are things you've probably seen around town with the improvements to the different parks, with what they're called the Resiliency Parks to help with the flooding, and how some of those ideas can be built into the work that we do so that the Housing Authority properties are more resilient, be able to resist the flooding better, so that you don't have waters flooding out the street, ruining your cars, ruining your homes, and helping to manage that.
Parte de este plan también incluye prevención de inundaciones y resistencia a inundaciones. Todo se incluye en el plan moviéndose hacia adelante.
And then some of the other ideas like Brian talked about, some of the transportation, mobility improvements, making it easier to get around the city in different ways, making the city streets a little bit safer, making the connections a little bit better, and how those might interact with the future of the housing authority's properties.
Además, también el tema que se tocó anteriormente es transporte, es muy importante en cómo se incluye todo el proceso que va a moverse desde acá.
With that, I'll pass it back to David here to take us to the end of the presentation and start our breakout group.
Good evening. My name is David Stembel, and I'm with the planning group of Jordy Dallas and Partners. What's on the screen now is the schedule. We've allocated August for stakeholder meetings. All of you, all residents, have a stake in this process and the outcome. That's why we're calling this a stakeholder meeting. So this is one of the stakeholder meetings. Next, we come back in we come back in September for the workshops and the charrettes.
En la agenda del plan, agosto es el mes para los residentes, que les han llamado los inversores de este proyecto. Ustedes son todos inversores en esto. Septiembre es más los talleres de cómo se actualiza el proyecto.
And on the schedule, you'll see that the workshops and charrettes are scheduled for 3 days. They will include more stakeholder meetings. You'll receive invitations to each one, and there'll also be interactive workshops where we will draw with you, and you'll see us drawing, and we'll be considering options, things that we heard tonight, and things we bring back to discuss with you at that time in the workshops.
El segundo punto son 3 fechas en septiembre, de que es el proceso interactivo de diseño, donde van a haber talleres, por ejemplo, donde van a dibujar todos ustedes con los arquitectos para dar sus ideas y ver si realmente se confirman lo que salió de la reunión de hoy.
The word charrette literally for architects and planners means an interactive process where we all draw together.
Charrette significa literalmente que es un proceso interactivo donde todos participamos dibujando juntos.
After the 3-day workshops and charrettes in September, we come back again in November and we present back to you what we think is the beginnings of a plan to review again with you.
Después de los charrettes de septiembre y octubre, en noviembre se regresará para una presentación del plan base a futuro.
And all of this leads toward the end of the year when a final plan will be produced. A final plan that all of us, all of the stakeholders have had a hand in producing. Ideally, we are listening and incorporating. We're listening to your questions, incorporating your suggestions, considering them, and then again, bringing them back for your review and comment in a back and forth process.
Hacia finales de año habrá un documento final donde se habrán incorporado todas las preguntas y avances y cambios a partir de aquí hasta final de año.
Now, we've been talking a lot, and I know it's very, very hot, but what we would like to do, and you may notice there are 4 clipboards located throughout the tent, and members of the planning team, the people that you have met, some of us will go to this clipboard, some of us will go to that clipboard, there's a clipboard here, there's a clipboard over here, and what we would like to do is have you come up and talk to us. Tell us your questions. Mention what it is that is most concerning to you about the community, about the process, about your visions.
Como pueden ver, se han colocado 4 clipboards alrededor. y la idea es que ustedes vayan a cada uno de ellos, hagan preguntas, la gente que dio la presentación van a estar ahí, van a contestar sus respuestas, preocupaciones, etc.
On the screen are some preliminary or prompt questions just to get us started, but by no means are these the only questions, and in fact, we really want to hear from you, and the reason we're breaking out is so that we can get as much feedback as possible. After we have met and we've heard, and the planning team is going to be writing the questions down so we have a record.
En la pantalla hay algunas preguntas a manera de ejemplo, no se sientan obligados a usar estas, es solo como una idea base, y todas las preguntas se van a hacer anotadas a manera de registro de todo lo que salió de acá.
And after a period of time, we're going to bring all 4 of the flip charts, the clipboards, back to the front and report back to the larger group what we heard in each of the groups so everybody can hear. There might be some duplicate comments, some duplicate questions, but there will certainly be some great ideas and concerns expressed.
Al final de la sesión se van a traer todos los clipboards para presentar todas las preguntas y dudas. Quizás van a haber duplicados, pero es necesario para saber dónde estamos todos en esto.
So before I give you the last direction, I want to thank our translator and ask that if you're sitting up here, if you could migrate over here. If you're sitting in the back, Brian and Michaela, the back there waving. There'll be 2 more of the planning team over here and 2 more of the planning team over there.
Por favor, las personas que están más cerca de cada uno de los clipboards, siéntanse bienvenidos a acercarse y a hacer sus preguntas.
So with that, I will invite you very much. Please come and introduce yourself and talk to us. Let us hear what you have to say.
Por favor, acérquense, estén bienvenidos. Gracias.
Okay. Want to speak? Go ahead. All right, I haven't had to say. You talk issues for anything, right? Okay, I feel like our children is our community. That's what we need. We need something for them, for our children from ages 12 to 17. All of them is getting on drugs, smoking, but there's no activities for them down here, for these kids. Okay? There's no... Yeah, I go and do outside money to raise money for these here kids for a trip. I do a trip for them. I had a bingo going on, but it seemed like they won't let me back in to do the bingo for the seniors, you know. And then another thing I think will help in the city, we need a park for these kids. All they do is pop-up park.
And all these parks.
Pop-up park. And park.
¿Cuál es la visión del 2021?
La visión del 2021.
Que lo arregle.
You guys want to bring it in closer because I can't project very well?
Okay. For those, get a little closer so she cannot. Hey.
So by that you mean the floor defense
All are here. Go to the left so you can actually write your questions.
Okay, so ma'am, that's a question that we're not able to answer tonight, but that is definitely a question that we're going to write, that she just wrote down. So, can I get everybody's attention real quick? Because we're going to take this feedback and we're going to make sure that it's something that even when we report back, remember how we said about the presentation? Let me just take this off for a second. Remember what we said about the presentation, how people can see that presentation or either get copies? Same thing is going to apply to this, okay? Is that this is going to be posted because that's part of the transparent process here. So a question that's come up is it has to do with the principles, and this is a very good question. I have to tell you that this team cannot answer that question tonight. That is something that we're going to have to work out with you as we go through this process. But there are no answers for that tonight. That's going to be a work in progress. I just want to add, because we got 3 other comments that I'd just like to just share with the group what we heard too. One was, why is this, well, I'm going to go to this one first because I heard. I'm good.
And exactly people will determine on what they're doing.
Of course. My girlfriend, she was in New York. She was one of 12 people who were fighting it out, and no one wanted to fight. And everyone got evicted. They all she's homeless, except she closed it.
I want to be transparent and really deal with it. Because,
If you come to the meeting, if you come out here and you talk to us, you see in a month, we're going to come back and we're going to show you how we're working on something.
They have to actually
One of them has a broken arm. The middle one. Look at her mouth. She's all in the street park.
I'm going to let him finish.
We appreciate your input, but we do need to let everybody have an opportunity.
So I just have a bunch of questions that I would like to be written on here. So first of all, will there be a legal binding document for residents telling them that they can come back to a unit here?
that's what they That's what Camille wanted to do. He wanted that like he wanted to build a building.
It's still a question that needs to be written down.
So you know, tonight, this is the only thing we know with tonight, but we will take the questions.
Where's Dave Noah at? Because the lady, because he was one of
For residents to come back.
I'm enthusiastic.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, I hope so. We need enthusiastic people.
Lo primero que dijo es que esto no era política. Entonces lo que ellos están buscando es un better Hoboken. La visión para Hoboken.
Es verdad. Es verdad.
Como la Washington, cosas así. en la Hudson, cuando estos buildings eran por dos porquerías.
Hay que salir ahí.
Hasta que no hay una página toda.
Aquí también la cadena, la de
Llena toda la página.
Dale, ¿va a salir? No voy a salir. Yo voy a salir.
No,
pero mi gato salió fea. Voy a salir de ahí.
Mira, ella se pone porque
¿Ya él me retrató?
ya.
Sí. Ahí. Míralo.
Oh. Espalda.
Déjala a ella, mira tú. Ya, ya, papá. Síguele, ya no te
Okay, we're writing it down. We're writing it down. Do you have a question?
Some people have a mobile unit and it'll protect the people who are sick and everything to different places and everything.
Mobile unit for people.
Right, like if you need to go to the hospital, you know, to go check up for the doctors and everything, they don't have nothing here at all whatsoever. Not only that, they don't even have a playground right in the four projects for the kids. Nothing, I mean, at all whatsoever. Everything here is being built. Then you have a center here for the kids. For them to communicate, to get, you know, to get what events are going to happen and everything and all that. Everything, there's nothing here for here. Then they wonder why white kids, they get into trouble. There's nothing here for these kids. I know whatsoever.
Places for kids.
Right.
Teenagers too.
Right, teenagers, for everyone, to get together. They don't have nothing here. In the project. All right. When it's really needed, they stuff like that, they don't have nothing like that. And I mean, they're building this and they're building that. They got nothing there in the front project for the kids. How you gonna be playing in the street and everything?
I don't know how you put that. I don't know how you put that.
Childcare is another. Childcare is
Brian Stack here? Brian Stack made me to put a work in and better maintenance. Better maintenance.
How much they hire?
Better maintenance.
How about certified? I know it's a lot, sister. Certified means
I'm going to throw this paper in the back of the
Okay, so let me tell you what they do. They patch it up, put a Band-Aid on it, then when it gets worse, they try to fix it. And you're out of the tub, you can't flush your toilet, you can't push your tissue down your toilet.
They gotta wait a month before they come. They gotta wait a month before they come. That's slow. They got water bugs galore. Gotta fight with them every day.
Up and do the ceiling and cover it with cardboard. They cover it up with cardboard.
This part with no park, make sure you put down, fix the ones that's here. Like the big holes that them kids gotta be playing around. No swings, no cushion on the ground, okay, no rubber mat, none of that, okay? Like, cause I gotta go walk all the way over here to get a decent play for my child. That's how far is it? Yeah, all of that. I want everything that uptown got. Down here.
No, that's what we want.
I want all of that. I want all of that.
Like mini shopping centers, like a Dollar Tree, a Wendy's, right? So
It's only the right thing to do. I mean,
better security.
Así que
some options, they will not be predetermined. They will be options. And in fact, one of those important things that I hope that we're communicating is there's multiple ways to do it, and there's pluses and minuses with each way. Whenever almost anything, everything I do,
es un proceso que tiene que mucho dinero, pero cuando hacemos la visión para aquí es un elemento de ese proceso. Cuando construye algo nuevo puede instalar un tanque o otra cosa bajo de la tierra, y si no ves, pero puedes sacar el agua y después taparla al otro lado. Sí, y se puede hacerlo. Tiene razón. Cuando hace construcción nueva o algo así, puede instalarla sin problema. Pero es difícil cuando todo está
nobody's asking about the housing authority, the board of directors, already said 1,000 units. There might be there's reasons you might want to
I work better system, better barrier entry. Yeah. So,
and I think of a tenant like me and my son just moved here. I think like some of us don't want to be in this area. I want to go to HP. I think we should have the right to do where we want to be at. So you don't have. I don't have no privilege. I want to be on A Street because you know my son is able. I want to go that way. Yeah, I can go outside. I can go outside right here. I gotta go far away. So there's yeah, it's more quiet.
There's 4 wards here, certain wards have better accommodation than others. Right.
Safety. Because in our building, they keep breaking the door. It's too much.
Now you see that it's like one maintenance
yeah, it's a whole
for the whole project. It's like one maintenance man for this whole complex. Like no one cleans. It's unsanitized. Like nothing gets clean. We got 1,000. We got skunks living amongst us now. Like they live right outside. When you come out, they outside in the daytime. Skunks. Yeah, we got skunks, we got squirrels.
Oh yeah,
I have 2 squirrels in my apartment.
They were
not in the new one. Yes,
I heard that. Yeah, and they won't. And houses should come and pick them out of your house when you're afraid of them.
The skunks is ridiculous. I know it's nature, whatever the case may be, but they too close. Too close.
They eat up. They
make a whole lot of
yeah, they are underbuilding. So it's like.
Then they put windows like
always make sure she's
come and fix this. Come and fix this. They get into the runaround. I said, you know what? I'm taking my.
How many years we had these kind of meetings and accomplished nothing? Last we sign our name, we get a hot dog on the shoulder.
He said, any problems you have, you call me. That's it.
Very small places, right? Because a lot of stuff is done on the internet. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to make any assumptions, right? But I'm saying if you know about the tennis shoe game, you know about the real tennis shoe game. And how, people selling these sneakers, they get a pair of sneakers and they sell them for a higher price doing all this stuff. I don't know my oldest son.
Well, one thing is to like think about this. Another thing about having more flexibility.
Yeah.
No me gusta su idea.
Yeah, like even in the community center, like you could have somebody come up and teach kids how to cook, culinary arts classes and things like that, and give like kids a little bit of little jobs. I remember growing up, we used to have summer jobs. There's no summer jobs for kids, and they wonder why they get in trouble because they got nothing to do. They sit home playing PlayStation all day. They need to have summer jobs. Go to the building, help seniors and everything. They need to do things like that too. Get them something to do.
See, that's what the recreation is.
Yes.
Yes, skills.
With that. Because, I would actually volunteer to help kids cook and be chefs. I would help them do that, but they told me I had to go to ShopRite and tell them, please give me food so I can help the kids out. Literally told me that. So,
how about you? Those are all great. You were talking about. Yeah. Actually, do you think he could record? He could report back? Do you want do you want to report back, or do you think he should?
Why get that from my mama? Hello?
How about what you have any? How about you guys in the back?
When I was walking over, I was coming to say community center, but
Community
right
center? All right, good. That's a big one. We're on board with that one too. That always helps.
And it should be run by housing, not the city. The city runs everything. It needs to be run by open housing resident. They should actually give a resident job actually in that center. Yes, you should have resident jobs and stuff like that.
Nah, there's no more. But that was through the tennis association. The tennis association.
So, you still want it? If it's going to take time, maybe you do. But there's going to be a back and forth
Porque es lo que él dice, arreglar parte aquí, parte allí, and I told her, mejor lo que I'm working on TV. That's good. What channel? You gotta take me out in the morning.
YouTube.
What channel?
YouTube.
You gotta take me out. Somebody look for me. Sí, sí.
Vamos a hacerlo, pero...
Pues está bien, gracias. Y encantada. Encantada de placer. Sí, sí.
Hey, tell my big daughter, my stepdaughter, you said help me get my big for this though. Tell my big one, say hello. Right, my big one.
These guys
guys have had big successes down in D.C. and Philadelphia,
Yeah, but
all over the country.
nobody got to move or nothing.
No, that's look,
They can do what they want to do
one
down
thing
there.
I can assure you, the one thing that every commissioner has agreed on, I mean, we didn't agree on much, but the one thing we agreed on is we don't want to lose a unit, we don't want to lose a bedroom, okay? Because sometimes what they'll do is they'll replace 3 bedrooms with 1 bedroom, right? So we're like, we don't want to lose a unit, we don't want to lose a bedroom, and we don't want anybody to have to move out of Hoboken in the process of redevelopment.
Go get another one.
That's it. That's our big things.
Yeah, it's just that that's what I'm scared about.
That's our 3 main priorities. We don't lose a unit, we don't lose a bedroom, and nobody has to move from Hoboken as we redevelop. Biggest priorities.
I just want them to do right by the kids and the seniors. Thank you, baby. By the kids and the seniors.
They spent their whole life here. They should not fear being displaced.
That bad boy that they call it sometimes and they need to go.
Well, that's your elected board. That's your elected board.
That's getting my elected board. They've been there for years. That ain't our elected board. They never got started another one. That ain't our board.
They take the flowers off.
We'll get a new Girl Scout troop. My daughter, she's got 2 old. They're gonna,
oh yeah.
We gotta get the younger. We gotta get the brown.
But see, that's working together. That's not me coming or Daniela or this team coming and saying, you know what, we're gonna tear all the buildings down. Here's the plan. That is not what we're talking about. And so what you just said, we have to look at both options. We have to say to you, if we save these buildings, all of these buildings, it's going to cost us much. But if we tear down all these buildings, it's going to cost this much, and this is all the commotion that it causes with that. And is there something in the middle to keep from moving people around in all these different locations? And are there other opportunities right here in this area to build on land? So, but see, that's what I am saying, that is part of the process.
There's a lot of aesthetic that needs to be done. That they think is they're thinking about it. And now because it's like I said, we haven't been in that house in 10 years. Not that we need to, but we would prefer. I mean, exaggeration probably, but yes, provided we do it.
You would take the initiative if you were given the opportunity.
Because maintenance, we understand maintenance expensive. We gotta go. We also need to pay for
So from a physical standpoint, with the way these buildings are laid out, and so I know that these renovations, is this something you guys have?
And my son was like, see, you think they would give him a carpet? No, but they would give a drug dealer a carpet, but not
Well, that's why he had to go up and interrupt, because no one asked.
Yes, ma'am. Of how to improve it.
To improve it, you don't have to cut everything down.
Okay, all right.
I'm dealing with that for 3 years.
They 3 years. They would have no complaint.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, man. I didn't hear from you.
She said, frustration is that young man said, Troy said, we've been through quite a bit of this for a while. And so therefore, when we put together again, it's just like the same stuff. So therefore, right there. So like, you're random people coming here, you don't know us.
size the way it is, but they showed me bricks and everybody.
You can tell easily, like, oh yeah, we know where that is.
Yeah, what it is. Yeah, exactly. All buildings are built like this. Like even in New York, you see them built like this. They used to build projects the way they're in Florida. I seen them in Florida.
Yeah, they're all the same.
They look like regular houses. You don't even know the houses are because they all.
Oh right.
They do with houses.
That's what our architecture firm we specialize in.
Okay.
We do.
Are you an architect?
Yeah.
Nice.
When you mentioned air quality, what about electromagnetic radiation? Yes. Because we have a 5G right in the corner, which is supposed to be away from residents, because that affects the kids, that affects, because they have a bone density, very short, seeing here, and people who pass sensitivity, or that kind of thing, including that radiation.
I think that's the case with that old power station too. And make sure the ground's okay before you build on that.
I have a question.
Electromagnetic radiation.
Did you guys, the group of people that came that, from that they've never been here, took a tour around all these projects, every single unit to see for themselves, like, the problems, just so you guys have an idea of what we're talking about? Because one thing is us telling you, but another thing is you guys seeing it for yourself.
Troy and David came here about 2 months ago and did a complete site tour with John and Susan.
The architects also took a tour so they could see exactly what we're talking about, what we need, because one thing is saying it, but if you don't see it,
and
right?
That's why I'm here today. We walked around a little bit, but I'm going to try to do some more tomorrow.
So you guys could get a little idea of what we go through daily basis, like we have to deal with,
And then during the charrette, we'll have maybe even more time to do that. Like, you guys can actually walk and show us some areas.
Yeah, you guys probably have to end up with more different, better ideas,
That's great.
How long?
Yeah.
When you trying to time span? It is soon. Is it like 3 years, 2 years from now?
All right, so what we know is we're going to do this report in the next 2 months, and by the fall we'll have kind of a report. That's like, like a document.
Yes, of course.
To show you guys, so we'll be part of that.
Makes it harder. More storage, and storage spaces like in the basements, like we don't have access. Some buildings do, some don't have access to storage. Like I have to get my own storage privately. But also in the units, like just closet spaces. They have like closets.
Is it possible that
to the ceiling. The only building that's going to have been right there. Nobody said that. And I'm here about the ceiling.
Yes, she does. She does. You know that.
Because sometimes we have to somebody will get bugged if we got to do it for somebody else. We're understanding if you need to do it, and you're going to be staying breakout sessions, and then you get affected. I had the that's just like we have to have some procedures, otherwise some people take advantage, and I'm not saying you, but there are other people that are taking advantage.
I've been doing this for like 15 more years.
I understand, but once we put in a set of procedures for every person, we got to put in for every.
Let me explain. What happened is that the social hazard that they address, I think that
Oh, you gonna put my name out? My name needs to be up here.
We have a sign-in sheet.
Yes, I don't know.
But I can take your name too.
I did. I told about.
I think a dog park too. A lot of people have dogs.
Oh, pets, then there's no way to take them.
So they should have.
So no dog
I
park.
think there's a park. No, there's no dog park.
Who's gonna do the presentation?
So, they're saying, okay, somebody has to revise and talk about it. So who's gonna do it? That's the. Oh no, he's in that box. He's in that. This is a different box. The lady in the mailbox. She's writing it down, but she needs somebody else to actually second.
Hold up. Not for fake. You think I'm gonna make a live like that? Not for fake.
Dog park is good because you guys got this charge.
Well, let's see. But you said the Hoboken residents want to leave along.
Someone's been here so long.
I mean,
I used to go to every meeting I went to. I came upstairs sick.
I mean, these are just being honest. I thank you for being honest.
Those people are now. Every time a new building come up, this building over here, you got to count everybody. That's not you know they say every unit they're supposed to have so many.
No, but see that piece of paper, the first thing was supposed to be, if I remember correctly, we started with 1,354 units. At the end of the day, we're going to have 1,300.
Is it going to be the 1,300? In a lot of these places, a lot of them move back. Where they going at?
Right.
Where are they going while this place is being built?
We're going to make sure, guaranteed you come back.
Because you should not believe it. One time they're going to put a number 6 if there's one build a unit and fix that unit and then people can move back in the unit.
Anything in Hoboken.
That could be another part too. You can actually, well, they have some jewelry store right. It should be in the building.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like in the building.
Have you seen the bike rack?
Only a resident can get that.
Bike rack had one wheel, somebody steal a whole decade. They have one wheel and they leave take the other
The part that's
leave
changed
the
to
frame in there.
the gate was the part that they left. The rest of your bike they took.
I've done that. My bike was stolen like that once, like insulting. Come on. I might as well give them the rest of the wheel back. You all have to thank Michaela for writing all this down.
I know she's squatting and everything.
I'm just standing here chatting away. She's very cool. Well, I don't want to like continue to chat, but if you guys have any more comments, I'd love to hear them. Or you can save them up for next week.
We don't want to leave anything.
That's right. That's true. We don't want you to leave nothing out of it.
Are there really loud parts of the neighborhood? Is the train, is it just like a
No, it's a light rail. It don't make noise.
It used to be loud when it was Conrail.
Yeah.
It was
But we
Conrail.
like Conrail.
It's not Conrail now anymore?
No, it's a light rail.
Like rail. If anything, we want them alert when we go there. Oh, the train is here.
Yeah.
We want them to have a little bit.
You're like, oh snap, I got
We want to be able to hear them. We don't want to walk on the track and get hit.
Oh, yeah. But I know you.
That's great. We talked about like playgrounds. We can talk about that a little more detail. But like, there's clearly some little kids. Are there stuff on site? So these are not.
Besides larger windows, meaning larger doors, get house furniture. Like I have a problem. I live on the first floor. Like I had to get my like I have